It took just several weeks for the coronavirus pandemic to disrupt the life of a number of countries. Unfortunately, Ukraine is no exception. And starting on March the 16th, a quarantine was enforced all across the country. Among the limitations is a ban on hosting mass events with no more than 10 people being able to gather. Of course, it also applies to church services. So how does the quarantine influence the lives of believers? And how do we stay spiritually fit, keep the faith, and hungry for God? This is a special coverage of lockdown experiences of Kiev Jewish Messianic Congregation, so tune in.
Ничто не может нам помешать славить нашего Господа. Ничто не может нас запугать, остановить.
The prayer and spiritual life of Kiev Jewish Messianic Congregation goes on. Starting on March the 14th, Shabbat services went from being on-site to online. KJMC ministers ensure that online Shabbat services continue and have been sharing with us. Celebrating Shabbat in an empty hall is very unusual, but there's a bright side. This is the time when everyone can get together, regardless of distance.
This is a very special time. It's unusual. I can feel joy that is greater than ever before. It doesn't matter where we are at. If the hall is empty or not, we know that we praise our Lord together as one mishpacha, with people joining from all around the world. It's palpable. And it's not in the least bit worse or more difficult. On the contrary, it's greater and even more awesome.
It is so cool that we have the live stream ministry. We've had it before, so transition to online format was very smooth. I was happy to realize that people who watched were dancing together with us, worshiping and abiding in Shabbat together, just as I did last week, dancing and watching Shabbat online at home.
After the very first Shabbat under the restrictions, the online audience actually increased.
Right now, the views aren't exclusively individual. Many people from our congregation specifically gather in their home groups and watch Shabbat services together, worshiping, rejoicing, and receiving what God is doing.
The members of the congregation on the other side of the screen shared with us. They not only watch the Shabbat service online, but they also re-watch it, recorded during the week, since this tried and tested method helps us to stay spiritually alert and alive. Besides, from the first day of the quarantine, the online prayer marathon was launched. 3 times a day in the course of 2 hours, anyone can join the prayer. Marathon participants pray in various directions for various needs, against fear and diseases, and personal needs, new formats of ministries, and other things.
Ничто так нас не радует, как отвеченные молитвы, особенно когда мы помогаем другим людям.
Всегда в свободное время можешь в это включиться.
You can always join the marathon whenever you have time. All the congregations in it. The support is palpable. I don't feel my thirst for God drying up, or that I'm getting farther away from God, or the people I'm serving with.
Generally, many people view the quarantine not only as the reason to spend more time with their families, but also as an opportunity to get closer to God.
I'm experiencing the same incredible special moments with God I did when I first came to know Him. I am receiving revelations from Him. It's the secret place, reading of the Word, personal prayer, etc.
Boris Grisenko, the senior rabbi of Kiev Jewish Messianic Congregation, reminds us of how important it is to support each other at these hard times. He recommends us to be connected in prayer groups of 3 or 4 via telephone or at the meetings. Boris Grisenko remembers that 25 years ago the congregation was initially formed as a living spiritual organism.
Our spiritual center of gravity isn't in the Shabbat services, but rather our prayer life and various ministries, especially home groups. If this is the case, congregation not only survives, but becomes stronger at times like this. And truly, right now, our prayer life is being activated rather than quenched.
Besides, the congregation continues praying for the needs of everyone seeking support. KJMC is doing its best to help those experiencing an acute need in finances or food, namely the elderly, the sick, and the low-income families. You're also welcome to join online Shabbat services. The live stream is available in English and Polish. So to join the live stream, just go to the KJMC website, Facebook, or YouTube channels.